Well, gentlemen, it turns out that the ladies prefer employed men to unemployed. Well, there you have it, boys. All you need to know to go get a wife, go get to it. Oh, wait, it turns out there's more. I see. It turns out that it isn't just about being employed, but how much you bring in. Okay, not a huge shocker. Glad we clarified that. Once again, guys, go after it. Oh, actually, okay, I guess it's not just a question of financial security. In fact, it looks like, according to a recent study conducted by the Institute for Family Studies, there may be some other factors at play not previously considered or at least not given sufficient attention when it comes to things like marriage rates and economics. Because it turns out that some of the occupations with the highest rates of marriage are not necessarily ones you would have expected if you buy into the narrative that marriage is really just about jobs or financial security or even other forms of security. Now, it has been pointed out by social scientists such as Charles Murray in his book Coming Apart that while marriage rates traditionally have been high in America across all of the income spectrums, that since the 1960s, there's been a significant shift, with upper class marriage rates declining but remaining a lot more steady than what we would call lower economic classes. Now, Murray chalks a lot of this up to changing cultural conditions, much of which stems from the sexual revolution, among other things. Murray's critics point to a lack of stable jobs with reliable incomes as a more credible explanation for the drop in marriage rates among the working class. So, which is true? Well, in the report by the Institute for Family Studies, they found that jobs do matter, and they accounted for three factors which contributed to something being considered a good job, namely wages, stability, and benefits. But even they admitted that it may be difficult to draw a direct line from the job itself to marriage rates. Interestingly enough, the working class jobs that have the highest rates of marriage are not necessarily the ones you might expect, namely military, law enforcement, trucking, construction, and maintenance and repair. All of these have much higher rates among the working class. It's close to 70% marriage rate for the military, 54% for law enforcement, and mid to low 40s for the others. Military and law enforcement can certainly boast a degree of financial stability as well as benefits programs, but there are other stressors associated with these jobs that constrain a marriage quite a bit. Not to mention that while the pay is steady, it's not exactly fabulous. Trucking can be financially stable, but there's a lot of time away, just like with the military. Construction can be very much feast or famine depending on the economy and the area you work. But an article by Emma Fuentes in the Washington Examiner offers another potential answer based off of this data: a male-specific community, or what she calls guy time. Because one of the things that all of these working class jobs have in common is they are typically dominated by men. Now, could it be that occupations which offer strong male-dominated communities create environments more conducive to family life and marriage? And why might that be? Could it be that there is something about these jobs and the men that perform them that attracts women, which actually transcends just money alone? Men in the military and law enforcement not only get uniforms many women seem to like, but typically carry themselves in a way that suggests confidence and the ability to handle themselves in dangerous situations. Jobs around construction, repair, and maintenance tend to be physical and incredibly useful, not only with respect to income, but with a lot of those things around the house that women typically appreciate men for doing. Now, allow me to suggest another completely radical idea. Men and women are different. They are different in the careers that they choose and the things which attract them about a potential spouse. They tend to have different priorities when it comes to selecting someone for marriage. Men generally want things like peace, beauty, loyalty, and respect. Women generally appreciate things like stability, protection, financial security, and much more. And it turns out when we embrace these desires, we find that they are very compatible, not competitive. So, is Charles Murray right? Are declining marriage rates a question of perverse values? Is it a question of a sexual revolution that completely turned all kinds of societal norms between men and women completely on their head? Yeah, I think he's definitely onto something. Is it also true that young men unable to find jobs are less likely to attract a woman to marry them? Yeah, most likely, but I also don't think it's as simple as economists sometimes make it out to be. Financial security is indeed very important. But my wife, who could have married much wealthier than me, chose me when I was little more than potential. My job, which was military, by the way, might have provided a regular income, but I remember what it was like to live in the bad part of town because it was all we could afford on that income. I think what we find when we look a little bit deeper is that while we talk a great deal about freedom in our society, what really gives us meaning and purpose are responsibilities. Responsibilities to parents, to friends, to our wives and children. And when we can engage in work that is physically and mentally demanding, which requires us to improve to both attain the respect of our coworkers as well as provide for our families, it can bring out the best in our masculinity. And perhaps the reason why such men get married at higher rates is not simply because of the presence of an income, but the presence of all of the virtues, capabilities, and strengths that such responsibilities require and ultimately reward.